Hi guys, so today we're going to be working on 6.6 and hopefully you have your copy of 6.6 and if not, maybe you could pause this and look at it while we're working on it. Okay, so the first problems in 6.6 are dividing by a monomial. We've already done this, so this is nothing new, so I'm not going to talk too much about it other just review as to how we do these. So basically the way you divide a monomial by a monomial is dividing the numerical part first. So I'm going to put an equal sign. So 42 divided by 7 would be 6. And then you look at your exponents. So this is an 8. And this is a 2, and you just subtract them since they're both x's. So 8 take away 2 is 6. And then you look at your y's. This is a 9 and this is a 1. So 9 take away 1 would be 8. So y to the 8. And then you're finished. Okay? So why don't you take a second and do number 2 on your own. And then I will do it with you in just a minute. Okay, let's see how you did. So we'll start with the numerical part. A negative 20 divided by 4 is going to be a negative 5. 4, take away 3 is 1a, or a to the first. You don't really need to write that 1, so I'm not going to. So a negative 5a. B cubed and bq leaves you with b to the 0 power, which is equal to 1. And a negative 5a times 1 would still be a negative 5a, so we don't write it. So it's just a negative 5a. And how did you do on that? Okay, let's look at number 3. Number 3 is actually number 1. Okay, we have also done these kind too this semester, way back in the beginning. So I'm going to go over the first one and then I'll let you do the second and the third on your own. So basically what you're doing is you're dividing each part of the polynomial by the monomial. And so it's going to be 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And then x squared minus x would just be x. And then you move on to the second part, a negative 2x and a negative 2x. So guess what? That's actually going to reduce to a negative 1. Because what you would do is you'd say a negative 2 divided by a positive 2, that's a negative 1. And then the x's cancel out. Okay, and then the last part, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Because there's this x here, but there's not an x there, you just put the 4 over x. You just make it a fraction. Okay, checking to see if that showed up, and it looks like it did. All right, number 2. So I'm going to give you a minute to do number 2, and then I'll go over it with you. And if you feel confident, go ahead and do number 3 on your own too. Let's go ahead and do this one. So we'll start with 15 divided by 5, which is 3. And then y3 minus y1 would be y squared. A negative 25 divided by 5 is a negative 5. y2 minus y1 would be y. And then 5y divided by 5y would be a positive 1, because 5 divided by 5 is 1, and then the y's would just disappear. Okay. All right, and then number 3. So number 3, we start with 48 divided by 4, and that equals 12. Then 4, take away 1, would give you x cubed. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 2 take away 1 would be 1, so you just have x. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then the x, because there's no x here, we just add an x underneath the 2. Great. So I hope those seemed at least a little bit familiar. 4 and 5 are also similar. They're just a little longer. So why don't you go ahead and do those 2 now, and then we'll go over those in about 30 seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and go over number 4. 12 divided by a negative 3 is a negative 4. 4 take away 2 is 2, so we've got x squared. 4 take away 1 is 3, so we have y cubed. Okay, then we have a negative 18 divided by a negative 3, so that's going to be a positive 6. And I think that was supposed to be an x. Let's check. Okay, that was an x on your paper. This is an x. So 5 take away 2 is 3. And then 2 take away 1 is 1. And then for the last part, a positive 30 divided by a negative 3 is going to be a negative 10. And then x squared divided by x squared is going to just cancel out. 5 take away 1 is 4. So the last part, you'll have a negative 10y to the 4th. Okay, great. And the last one. You can pause this if you're not finished. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and go over the answer. So 20 divided by a negative 2 would be a negative 10. X to the 5th divided by x to the 2nd is x cubed. Y to the 4th divided by y to the 3rd is just y. A positive 4 divided by a negative 2 is a negative 2. 3 take away 2 is 1, so we just have an x. 5 take away 3 is 2, so we have y squared. Then the last one, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so we're going to have a positive 8. The x squares will cancel out. And then we have 8 take away 3, which is 5, so we have 8y to the 5th. Great. All right, so now the next part you may not have ever had before. We haven't done it this year, and this is division of polynomials. And so as your paper says, arrange the polynomials that you're dividing in descending order. Write the division as you would in long division arithmetic. And so it would look kind of like this. You're going to put the dividend inside the house, inside the bracket. and then the divisor goes outside. If there are missing terms in the dividend, write them with an OX or just leave a space. If you don't like writing this, then you can just leave a space between. Then perform the long division process until the degree of the remainder is less than the degree of the divisor. Okay, so this is how we start. So example 1 is x squared minus 5x minus 24 divided by x minus 8. So this is the dividend, and the dividend is the number that goes inside of the house of the division. The x minus 8 is the divisor. So dividend, divisor. You rewrite it, I meant like as long division. Okay, now it's written in descending order already, so we don't have to move anything around. And so we just begin by thinking about how you divide. And so when you divide, the first thing you do is actually you divide. So I'm going to write some additional steps over here to help you keep track of what we're doing. So we divide this first term into the first term. So what would I need to multiply an x by to end up with x squared? Well, you would just need an x. Then you multiply. So the second step would be multiply. So x times x is x squared. X times a negative 8 is a negative 8x. Okay? Then the third step is to subtract. Now this is probably the trickiest part. When you're subtracting, you have to be subtracting both of those terms. So you're actually distributing this negative to both terms inside the parenthesis that I just wrote. So this is really a negative x squared, and this is really going to be a positive 8x. And then you're following your rules for addition. So if you wanted to, you could make that a plus sign. So if you have done this right, these two just cancel it out. X squared minus x squared, well that's 0, that's nothing. Then a negative 5x plus 8x would be a positive 3x. And then you go ahead and you bring down anything left to divide. So that's going to be the negative 24. So that's our fourth step, is bringing down. So I'm saying bring down the next number, so whatever it is. Okay, and then you just start all over again. So then you go back up to divide. Look that up. Okay, so that means what would I need to multiply the x by in order for me to end up with a 3x? So of course it would be a positive 3. So now I do the second step, which is to multiply. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times a negative 8 is a negative 24. Okay? So then remember, the next step is to subtract. So just remember you're distributing this, so that's a negative 3x, and now this is a positive 24. And we're following our rules for addition. Okay, so 3x minus 3x is 0. A negative 24 plus 24 is 0. So we don't have a remainder this time, and our answer is just x plus 3. I just noticed my power mode came on, and I'm not sure if that affected the recording or not, and I hope that it didn't. I guess we'll find out when I view this. Okay, so example number 2. Example number 2 says x squared plus 8x plus 3. So we're going to divide the x into the x squared. And then we're going to multiply. x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. And then we subtract. Remember, you have to distribute that to both parts, so this is now a negative 2. So 8 take away 2 is 6x. And that first term cancels out. Okay, we'll keep dividing. What would I need to multiply this x by to get 6x? Well, the answer to that would just be 6. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 2 is 12. And then when I subtract, I'm distributing it to both terms. So now this cancels out, 6x minus 6x. And now this is 3 minus 12, which would give me a negative 9. So a negative 9 will be my remainder. So the way I write my remainder is this. I just put an r, and then I put the negative 9 over x plus 2. So you put it over the divisor. Okay, so we're ready for example 3. So example 3, again, my steps are divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down, and then you start all over again. Okay, so what would I need to multiply the x by to get x squared? Just an x. So x times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. And then now we're going to subtract. So we distribute that. Our signs change. This cancels out. So now we have 4x minus 5x, which is a negative x. So we have a negative x plus 1. Okay, so what would I need to multiply an x by to get a negative x? Well, that would be a negative 1. So we multiply a negative 1 times x, a negative 1 times a positive 5, and then we subtract. Remember to distribute the negative. And so this cancels out. This gives us a 6 as a remainder. So our answer then would be x minus 1, remainder 6 over x plus 5. Okay. All right. The next one. Notice I rewrote this so that in the dividend, we've got x cubed plus 2x squared plus 0x, because this was missing, that term was missing, and then minus 6. Again, if you want to, you could just leave a space here and not write the 0x, but I kind of just like having something there. Okay, so what would I need to multiply x squared by to get x cubed? Just an x. So x times x squared gives me x cubed. X times a negative 2 is a negative 2x. Well, it doesn't work there, does it? So I don't put it there. I put it here. So I'm just going to leave that part blank. Okay. Now we subtract, and we need to distribute it. And so this cancels out. This 2x squared, we're just going to bring down. A 0x plus 2x is going to give me just the 2x, and then minus 6. So notice that 0x really will never change anything. It's just really there for a place value. Okay, so then we're going to divide again. What would I need to multiply x squared by in order to get 2x squared? Well, I would need to multiply it by a 2. So I'm going to put a plus 2 up there because it's a positive 2. So 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times the negative 2 is a negative 4. I don't have anything here, so I'm going to put the negative 4 there. So then I subtract. I distribute that negative. So this one becomes positive. Follow the rules for addition. This cancels out. This just is 2x. A negative 6 plus 4 is a negative 2. Okay, 2x minus 2, it has this x, has an exponent of 1, this exponent is 2, so this is less than that. So that's like a clue telling us that you're finished, there's nothing else to divide, because this is a smaller exponent. Okay, so that means our remainder is 2x minus 2 over x squared minus 2. I wrote that as low. And that is it. Okay. All right. Got 2 more. Let's try to do them. Okay, number 5. So notice again on number 5, I had to add the y for place value, so I've got 0y. So, and I also had to rearrange them a little bit because the y cubed should come first. So as you rewrite this, y cubed plus 3y squared plus 0y minus 4 is the order that they should be in. And then that's going to be divided by y squared plus 1. Okay. So, what would I need to multiply y squared by to get y cubed? Well, just a y. So then I multiply it. Y times y squared is y cubed. Y times 1 is just y. So I'm going to have to put that way over here. And then I subtract. And I distribute that negative. This cancels out. This is still part of our problem, so we still leave it. And then this would be a negative y and a negative 4. So remember, this is never going to change as long as that's 0y. It's just that you're bringing it down. Okay, so let's divide again. So what would I need to multiply y squared by to get 3y squared? It would just be a 3. So 3 times 3y squared, or 3 times y squared would give me 3y squared. 3 times 1 is 3, and it's going to be way over here. And then we subtract, distributing that negative. This cancels out. We now have a negative y. Was that a negative? No. A negative 4. And a negative 3 is a negative 7. So right now we have a negative y and a negative 7. So the exponent here is smaller than the exponent here. So this means that this is our remainder. So it's going to be remainder, a negative y minus 7 over y squared plus 1. All right, last one. Okay, well, I'll just erase this just so I have a little more room there. Okay. So again, looking at number 6, you see that I had to rewrite it to add a 0x squared because it was missing that. And so we'll go ahead and divide. So we say, what would I need to multiply x by to get x cubed? Well, that would be x squared. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 4 is a positive 4x squared. And then now we subtract, so this becomes a negative and this also becomes a negative. So I bring down the negative 4x squared. I bring down the negative 10x. We'll go ahead and divide again. X goes into a negative 4x squared, a negative 4x times a negative 4x times x gives me a negative 4x squared. A negative 4 times 4 is a negative 16x. Now I need to subtract. I distribute that negative. So this, of course, cancels out, and we've got a negative 10 plus 16x, so that would be a positive 6x. And then I'm going to bring down my 24. Okay, so x would divide into 6x 6 times. Or I guess I was saying this differently. I was saying, what would I need to multiply x by to get 6x? And the answer is 6. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 4 is 24. And then I subtract. I distribute it here. I distribute it here. Follow the rules for addition. So this cancels out, gives me a 0. So I have no remainder. My answer is x squared minus 4x plus 6. And that is how you divide a polynomial by a polynomial. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and do the group work on the assignment sheet for 6.6. And then later on, I will give you the answers for that. Great, good luck with this, and I'll see you again soon, or you'll see me again soon. Bye-bye.